Welcome to X Marks the Spot podcast. The story you're about to listen to is all true. The only thing that has been changed are the people's names and their locations to protect their identity. Everything else has actually happened to myself and my guest in the story we are about to share today. And with that, let's get started. Hi everyone, and welcome back to X Marks the Spot podcast. I am your host, Will. During this episode, I will mention I am not actually going to drink anything. I only have a smoothie that I made from mangoes because I have had a weekend of drinking, and I think my liver needs to survive a little bit more. So just that smoothie, and I'm having a little bit of water. So sorry for the prudeness, but yes, that's my drink of the day right now, or my drink for the episode. And I actually don't have a guest today. I actually had a last-minute cancellation, but I didn't want to leave everyone hanging. And today's topic is actually going to be something interesting because it was actually suggested by a fan of the show, who I am actually going to quote her DM on Instagram to me. Everyone talks about breaking up with a partner and how to cope or move on or mistakes made. We get it in every form of media. But no one talks about breaking up with a best friend, your non-romantic life partner. She continues on talking about how much it hurts, and it's more devastating. I'll actually read more on this part. It's way more devastating, in my opinion, than breaking up with a boyfriend or a girlfriend. And then she continues on with that, of like how hers is hell of a story. I would love for her to come on and talk about it because, obviously this sparked something. And it's true. It's actually 100% true. This topic is rarely talked about. And I actually did a little bit of research before really wanting to go into this whole conversation because I can't really think of methods. And every time I was coming up with methods of, how do you get over a friendship like this? You find new friends, you do this and that. As we all have probably already experienced, it's hard to find friends. It's hard to find someone who already accepts you're crazy, who accepts your psychotic ways of whatever you're into, whether it's sports or anime or video games or, books or comics, anything. Having a friend who gets you is completely different than having a relationship of someone who understands and gets you. Actually, I think I have that backwards. I actually do have that backwards because a friend understands, gets you, and annoys you, but knows how to always be there for you. A relationship is supposed to be all those things too, but there's supposed to be more of a comfort feeling from them. But your best friend is someone who's always going to be there for you. And I can actually say, I have lost close friends. I have lost best friends and everything when I was growing up. Now, I will mention right now, though, Maricela, she was episodes 1 and 2. She is my best friend. And so is Michelle. She was episode 5. They are amazing, amazing friends. If I lost either of them in my life, I don't know what I would do, to be honest. I have always been able to go to them. I've always been able to rely on them. Maricela has been in my life since, I think since I was 14, 15, something like that. And we've been friends for 16, 17 years now. And I mean, the friendship's going to keep growing because we are best friends. Now, if I lost her, I would have no idea what I would do. Michelle and I have only been friends for about 8 years. Still a long time. But, it also gets to that fact, too, of what would I do if I lost one of my best friends? I don't know. So again, I did some research, and a lot of it always it sounds like what you do when you break up with somebody. One of the articles I found was from Healthline. One of the things is come to terms with your feelings. If you've heard of the 5 stages of grief, you may know denial appears first on that list. Duh. So I'm not going to read this entire thing. But here's my favorite next one that they do. Keep a journal. Why? I understand for some people this is going to help because, writing your feelings out or whatever, because you don't have anyone to go to talk to. This is a hard topic to really cover because I don't know if many people really consider it or think about it or really have looked into this where there's not a whole lot you can research. Give it time is another one that they have. Take care of your well-being, exercise, read, do other things, turn to others for support. That's the part that kills me. So a lot of these articles have that. It's the turn to other friends for support. I'm gonna just say right now, bitch, like, who am I supposed to go to? I mean, there is nobody else. My best friend is gone from my life. It's hard for me to talk to anybody else because I could always go to this person. So the fact that a lot of these articles of like how to get over losing a best friend, how to cope with losing a best friend, you just lost your best friend, 15 ways to deal when you and your bestie aren't friends anymore. When your best friend dies. Okay, that one's a completely different topic. We're not going to talk about that one. And I mean, the question is so big, but yet it's so also small too. Along the lines of, how do you get over a best friend? A lot of people could just say, you just do. You don't. Because this is a non-romantic relationship. And again, this is a person that you've spent a lot of time with. You've told a lot of stuff. Like, you've put so much trust into them. They know probably your darkest secrets. And they will never tell anybody. And you know theirs. So how do you get over it? Who knows? I personally don't. The only story I can relate with this, and again, this is a little harder because I don't have anyone to bounce the story off of. I don't have any ideas. Before I fully jump into that, I want to mention when I Googled this, there was two things that kept coming up. And again, like, they all pretty much are the same thing, but it all sounds like more people who wrote it as a relationship and not, a friendship. Some are acknowledge your pain, which we already kind of talked about. Practice self-care. Okay. Avoid rumination. I actually don't know what that means. Hang on. Let me check on that one. Apparently that's just a fancy psychology word for going over old thoughts to the point where they interrupt your present happiness. Again, that sounds more like a relationship. How are you supposed to just get over your best friend? Do you know how many pictures and happy memories and everything that you have made with this person? It's a lot. And they go into like exercise, talk to someone, read about others in your situation. Okay. I'm going to stop there because this is getting annoying now. Now, as I'm reading it, I'm completely annoyed because it's true. And I'm so glad that she made this suggestion of like, this is something I should talk about, because you can find anything and everyone about how to get over a date or a bad breakup or this and that. How do you get over a friendship? So now I can get into my story for this. So when I was younger, let's say, I think I was in middle school. I actually found, in a sense, my group of friends. I thought these were going to be the guys that, you see in the movies and the TV shows, that they're friends well into their 30s, almost in their 40s. And it's like, hey, remember that time in this teacher's class? Ugh, that was a good time. Like, I thought I had that core group of friends. And I thought we were going to be friends for literally the rest of our lives. I considered these three guys my best friends. And I mean, even funny enough, we were, we weren't like fully dorky. I think I was the dorkiest one. We were in a band together. We had a few stupid names. One was called Bloodshot Authority. I don't remember who came up with that one. It wasn't me. I know that. Another one was A Few Links Short of a Chain. Another one was Cross Moritors. There's another. So I believe, if I remember, Cross Moritors stood for or means die tomorrow. And I forget in what language. It might have been German. I also could be completely wrong again. And then, we were like, oh, what if we were Die Tomorrow? We were like, a hard rock band, whatever kind of thing. And we always had these hangouts, these band practices, and we always had fun. We never really got in trouble. We were just, we were just young teenagers. We were just idiots. We were just rocking out. We were just doing the thing that we do. It wasn't until high school. I want to say like sophomore, junior year. So like our second, third year. Things started to get a bit sour between all of us. And I wasn't really sure why. I wasn't sure if it was because, I was still doing the same thing. I was like, oh yeah, these are still my friends. I still want to do in this band, this and that. it became really weird along the lines of where did we all go? I remember one of my friends, God, I haven't even signed the name. I'll call him Tall because he was the tallest one. He was like 6'2" or something. And then there was there was the tall one, there was the pretty one, there was the drummer, and I mean that was really like his personality. He was just a robot drummer. He was amazing at what he did, but he was kind of a robot at times. And then there was me, the loser. So the tall one in high school, I forget what sport it was. Might have been football or maybe it was lacrosse. But the tall one and the pretty one, they got into lacrosse. And then that's when their like jockey life kind of took over. And I do remember at times, apparently the tall one was saying that he didn't really want to be around me because I was too much of a loser. And that fucking hurt because, like, again, I just hung out with this dude almost every single day of middle school and most of our freshman year just to find out that he thinks I'm the problem. And he like also didn't really want me like around or anything. So, feelings hurt, whatever. He wasn't showing up to band practice like at all. And it got to the point where we just kind of decided, all of us decided that, we should kick him out. But no one wanted to do it. So I did it. So apparently that created more bad blood between him and I because I was the one that, kicked him out. Again, I told him it was a group decision and it sucked, but he wasn't going. He wasn't going to practice. He didn't care. He never called us back, nothing. He would always send like a text, be like, oh yeah, sorry, I can't make it. So that was the start of that. So it's just down to the three of us. And, we're continuing what we do. And then it just kind of starts falling apart. The robotic drummer, I forget what happened exactly. He got a girlfriend that he was like crazy about, which we all never minded. But it was the same thing. He didn't want to do practice anymore. He always wanted around. And again, we didn't care, but we could clearly see she was a huge distraction for him. So, there were some practices where we're like, all right, just the boys, let's just do us. Like we'll practice for, the day and we'll get it all out and then, we'll be good. But he hated that. And, we were also just trying to like do one practice like that, like once a month. That didn't work out for him. Feelings became sour. Apparently they wanted, the drummer and the pretty one, they wanted to go towards another band or like we all dismembered. I don't really remember what happened. But they actually started another band. I was invited to another, and then like we were all cool after that. But the pretty one and I, we always remained friends. So I always saw him as like, all right, he's going to be the friend that's going to stick through it, which sucks because the robotic drummer and I had been friends since elementary school, since like 2nd or 3rd grade. So I knew him the longest. And so like when we had these sour feelings, and I remember I was like, dude, like what is going on, man? Like I've done nothing to you. It's like, and I don't hate your girlfriend. I was like, again, it was just once a month. We were just hoping that we could all just practice and it was just us because, we're not saying she's like this. She was fantastic at the practices. She would literally just hang out. She'd have earplugs on. Sometimes she would just read. She would be on the couch. She'd be chilling. She would just be chilling. So we never had an issue with her, but we could see that he was distracted. So, we just thought like, okay, if she just wasn't there for one practice, I'm getting sidetracked. So continuing on, all of us are kind of like leaving. Our 3rd, 4th year of high school. So junior, senior year. None of them are my friends. The tall one is with all his jockey popular friends. The pretty one gets apparently invited to a party over like summer, and then he just like ditches me completely. I think this was our junior year. Yeah, it was, because I remember around that time like we never hung out. And he was apparently saying the same shit. He was saying that I was a complete waste of time, that we never did anything and that he would rather just go drink, smoke, and party than hang out with me. So a lot of weekends that turned into, I was going to band practice. I was hanging out with my friends. We were riding our bikes. We were, going to this one restaurant out in our hometown. Shout out to Mongolian Barbecue. Not sponsored by it, but Jesus Christ, that place is still amazing. I went back to visit friends and everything, and I am so sad I didn't get to go there, but from what I see and what I hear, it's still just as good as it was before. So yeah, so they stopped hanging out with me, all of them. And it was because, as I said, I was the loser one in their group and in their eyes. And I really took that to heart, to where I was like, wow, my friends don't want to hang out with me because I'm a fucking loser, apparently. And it was because, I watched animes, I read comic books, I watched all these shows. Yeah, it was crazy because I went through years and like weekends and days and everything of hanging out with these three people, and then they were gone. I kind of did, what one of these things suggested was like try to find a new group of friends, because I think it was senior year or junior year. Again, my timeline's kind of screwed up. I knew some of these guys, and so I was like, all right, I'm going to go hang out with them because I have no one to sit with and I don't know what to do. So I found them one day at lunch. I was like, hey, what's up, guys? And so we all started chatting. And I was like, hey, do you guys mind if I, sit with you? And they're like, yeah, absolutely. So, we all started hanging out and everything. And then what kind of became cool was these guys, had kind of a band going on, and we didn't really start anything until the pretty one and the robotic drummer had another band, and they're like, hey, we want to do a show. Do you have a band that you're in that you guys want to help us in? They're like, because they won't let us do a show. I forget at what venue, unless we had like 3 or 4 bands. So we all, started practicing, and I made new friends. And then, I started seeing again the whole, wow, I'm coming close with these guys. We're becoming pretty good buds. Like, we're going on these adventures. Like, we're having stupid adventures. Like, we're doing what dumb teenagers do. And it was amazing. It was absolutely fantastic. These guys pushed me to be, in a sense, better. And I wanted to be better. We did a few shows. We were not becoming big, but we were getting pretty known. Like, people wanted to know who we were. And I was excited. I had my buds, my friends and I, like, we, buried whatever hatchet that we had between us in the past. And I was like, okay, this is a good life. And I also was dating somebody. She was a little crazy, but we won't get into that right now. And then I want to say we did one show at this one sort of not famous place, but it's a famous place back home. The Underground, I believe. It was this place that was attached to a church, and it was like where like all these bands, like up and coming bands, would go and play, because it was a pretty decent sized venue. And I was also kind of shocked that the church would, let us all play there. So we did a show. We had a lot of fun. People liked us. We made friends with other bands and everything. And then I'll never forget it. One day I was on MySpace, to show my age there. And I was going through our MySpace page for our band, and like the name changed to Hot Eyes, Cold Eyes. And I was shocked, and I was like, oh, okay, that's weird. Like, nobody talked to me. And then I saw all of them, they did the typical band picture. It was like them against the wall and like, dark light and this and that. And it was with this other dude. And I was like, oh, that's weird. I was like, new member. So I reached out to them, and then I get a phone call. Rhythm guitar player, lead guitar player, forget. And he tells me what was going on is that they wanted to move in a different direction, and they knew I wouldn't want to do screamo. I was crushed, because in my high school years, by the end of it, I had no best friend, no best like guy friend, like people I could go to or anything. And it sucked, because God, I'm almost getting like emotional over all this, because it just showed that everything I was doing apparently was wrong. I wanted friends to be happy. Apparently it was just something about me. So I didn't really have anybody to turn to. I had my girlfriend. We talked about it. She knew how much this crushed me. And then what also sucked is like when you have to like talk to your parents or like sort of other friends at school, or I know and like this in this instance at school, but like when you have to talk to other friends or like coworkers or anything who have like seen you and this and like these friends or this other friend always together, and it's like, hey, how's this person? And you're like, I don't know. You're gonna have to talk to them because they won't fucking talk to me. It's like, and I don't know what happened. So it was crushing for me because especially when your parents are like constantly asking like, hey, aren't you going to band practice this weekend? It's like, no. It's like I got kicked out again. And it doesn't help when your parents really nurture. They basically start like also blaming you. Yeah, as good-willed as my parents want to be in their heart, they also had the worst advice. I remember after telling them that, they basically told me, what did I do? And I went, oh my God. And they said, you know what? That's fine. You're talented. You'll find another band. I have never been in another band since. Not that I hadn't tried in the past, but I just no one ever wanted me to join, and that's fine. You find better singers all the time. It's out there. So, anyways, so that was the whole thing of that. I took so much time of not really having friends, and it was really weird because, and I know some will understand this, and some who have experienced it with me, I don't open up very quickly. And this is and I mean, it's also kind of stupid to say now because I have a show where I have to do nothing but open up, but this is also a small therapy. So bear with me. I think after my senior year, after my ex and I broke up, that was also hard on me because then I really had no one to turn to. I called one of my friends at the time and she didn't answer. And I had no one to talk to. So I was trying to think of like people, like who could I call right now to talk to and help me through this shitty situation I'm in. I remember I called 2 or 3 people and nobody answered. And so I just drove around. I drove around crying, upset, and I had no one to talk to. And I think that was the first time I realized like, wow, I have no friends. And it's difficult because how do you get over that? How do you fix that? Today it's a little easier, and I am a little jealous because back then it wasn't very easy to, go into the chats or go online and, do all these things. Like, you have friends that you play video games with. You have friends that you do this thing with, like you go to the movies or this and that. Like there's, things like Meetup, or I mean, I've even heard people who've made friends over Instagram. I've made friends over Instagram, funny enough, over just music. And again, like I was kind of shy and losery and everything, and so I didn't really know how to just like go up to people and just start like talking without being like, oh no, I'm being weird. And then if I'm just standing there, it's the same thought of like, oh God, I'm being even weirder. So I remember college starting for me, and I made no friends. I was so nervous to talk to anyone because I went, no one's going to like me. And I was so shy about that even people who tried talking to me, I would do the like, huh, yeah, and just kind of stop the conversation. I would do what I could every semester or every class to try to be more talkative. I would see people who, almost not really looked like me, but almost could be like my friend in a sense, like, losery. And they would always talk throughout class, this and that. And I was like, okay, I can do this. And any time I got like any kind of like some courage to talk, either someone talked over me or I just like, I sunk into my chair, or I just wanted to, hide in the corner. And it was really tough. I remember I even started dating this one girl, and that was surprising, that I was able to talk to her. She found it so weird that, there was times, we didn't hang out, and she would go out with her friends, and she's like, "So what are you doing?" I was like, gonna stay at home, read, play video games. I don't know. I was like, maybe walk the dog. But she started noticing the pattern that that's all I would do if I was never with her. And I think she saw it as I was codependent on her, and I wasn't. I just knew my situation. I didn't have friends that I could just like call up and be like, "Hey, let's go do this." It was more along the lines of I didn't have anybody close enough that I wanted to do that with. Like I had friends, but they were coworkers. And as much fun as we had like at, late night Denny's and this and that, it still was hard for me because I kept thinking, when is this going to end? When are they going to toss me aside? And I didn't know what to do. So, and I know with that relationship, it actually put kind of a burden because she started saying more and more that, oh, he doesn't have friends. And she was worried that I was just like waiting for her. But I was letting her have her fun, her night and everything. Like her and her, I think one of her best friends at that time, would go to a club or whatever. I never cared. Yeah, I never really thought on that of like how much she disliked that I don't have friends. She actually talked to me about it, that like, oh, like, why don't you call so and so? I was like, we don't really do much. I was like, if I'm going to hang out with one of them, I might as well hang out with all. And, we might as well all go do something. So she was very concerned about this. And then I remember because of this conversation, one class I took sign language. And I actually met this really cool dude. And him and I became quick friends. And I thought that was awesome. Because this guy was insanely attractive. He was fit. He was everything I wasn't. And he had this gorgeous girlfriend and everything too. And like him and I got along, and I was like, this is weird. All right. He actually invited me out a few times to go hang out, but like, he went to the club and everything, and I don't really do that stuff. And I was like, no, dude, it's cool. And I remember my girlfriend was like, oh, you have a friend. So it kind of reminds me of that movie I Love You Man, where Peter makes a friend, and his future wife was kind of like, oh, are you gonna call him? And like she kind of did that to me too. She's like, oh, why don't you two hang out? Why don't you go do this? I was like, yeah, him and his friends are gonna go there. I was like, and I don't really want to go because it's a club, and it's them. It was awesome that he wanted to hang out because he's like, oh, Will's a cool dude, he would probably have fun. But I don't have fun in those. And also at the same time, like all him and his friends were kind of in shape, and I was fat, and I didn't want to be the fat friend, so I just didn't want to go. And it wasn't really until when she broke it off, I had again nobody. I didn't know what to do. So around this time, I was working at Fry's Electronics, which is now closed. Thankfully. I know a lot of people are probably mad about that. That store sucked. Okay. So after all that, I was in a rut. I just was like, you know what? There's nothing else for me to lose. I might as well start just talking to coworkers and then see if people will actually like me. So I actually started talking with some people. I remember one night, I think I was there for like a month or two already. Could have been longer. And I got invited out to go hang out with everybody. And I panicked because I was like, yeah. I was like, yeah, I'll go bowling. Why not? So we went. I had a lot of fun. And then I realized, like, I can make friends. Like, why am I so scared? And I understand that this whole conversation isn't really, about, oh, just making a friend. it's really about getting over what happens when you lose your best friends. And again, since I since I lost those best friends in high school, and I didn't really have anybody for, a couple of years, I want to say it took about 3 years for me to finally be comfortable about like having friends in my life, like people I could actually call and count on. And, like I had two buddies who we would go, it was every Sunday, I believe, every Sunday or Saturday. And we would go watch the fights at Mountain Mike's Pizza. We would get a large. It'd be all three of us. We would, in a sense, bro out, watch the fights, have some pizza. We were making friends with like the owner of this one we went to, and like even the cashier girl was always the same. So it got to the point where she knew what time it was. She was like, "Fight's already on for you guys." She's like, "I already put your pizza in." She's like, "I just want to make sure before I hit, what the order is it the one you want to do?" And it was awesome because I finally had the friends again. I'm actually still friends with them, with most of them. With the two guys I'm friends with still. Some of the other people from Fry's Electronics have fell off the wayside. Some people just don't want to reach out. Some people don't want to keep the friendship, and that's fine. Now, if I saw them, would we be friendly? Absolutely. But there's still that I don't really want to waste my time with like 20-minute a small chat when I could literally go do anything else that doesn't require this. Sounds a little rude, and I understand that. But if they're not reaching out, I'm not reaching out, it's not like the friendship's over. It's just not very present. Now, the biggest thing is, yes, it took time, but the time was over also like a ton of heartache. I had no one else to turn to. I had friends who just kept dropping off the face of the earth for me. And I had no one really to go to. And I know everyone's like, well, what about Maricela? So after high school, like, her and I kind of just started living our path. And it wasn't like intentional. Again, we weren't like trying not to talk to each other. We just kind of lost track of it. And then it also got to the point of we both lost each other's numbers. So we never knew. And her and I only reconnected because when I moved to San Francisco in 2010, I think it wasn't until 2011, thought about her, and I was like, I haven't talked to her in like a couple of years. I was like, what's wrong with that? Found her, and then the next thing I know, she's in San Francisco. So my point is, though, is that this topic, I could keep talking about this whole thing continuously until I can, get to this point of where it's hard to get over a best friend. Yes, it takes time. Everything takes time, Any kind of heartache that you have takes time. But you can't really do anything. I mean, my best friends and I grew up playing video games and nerding out over shit. And apparently it was them secretly nerding out over it. Me being like vocal about it, they thought that was like embarrassing. Which, again, I found out about later because people are shitty. It's funny now because, everyone's into, Marvel or DC or this and that because it's a thing now. I was way into that stuff. And now I'm sure things would be different now if we were in middle school or high school and I'm into this shit because they would be into this. Because everybody is. Because that's what it is now. But the biggest thing is what I'm trying to say is there's never a moment where I'm not thinking about them or thinking about those times. I could be playing any video game and I will think about it's so weird to say that I gave him this title, but that's what he was. That's what he was in the group. He was the pretty one. Where him and I would just, have weekends where we were just playing video games, whether it was Smash Brothers or wrestling games or any shooting game like the first Call of Duties that came out. Like we used to play every game together and it was just always fun. And he would get so overtly dramatic, angry about like everything that he did wrong to the point where he broke a controller in half. I don't know if y'all remember some of those controllers. They're impossible to break. And he did it. So that was impressive. So there's that. Anytime I go and, listen to music, or I'm like, right now I'm teaching myself guitar because there's a lot of time these days for me. Anytime I sing, anytime I do anything that I used to do as a teenager and I still do now, they pop into my head. And it never goes away. That memory of them is never going to go away, of all of them from high school. Or, some moments that I had with, the other friends that I made along the way. And it sucks because there are times where I want to reach out, but they don't want anything to do with me. And I know this because, funny enough, well, not really funny, years back, we all sort of reconnected. Our friend, our robotic drummer friend, passed away. And so I had the joy of finding their numbers, making that phone call, telling them and everything about, I heard about the funeral. We should all go. So we did. We reconnected that day. And ever since then, they've never reached out. Even when I'm back in town here and there, I've reached out. I'm like, hey, I'm going to be in town this day. Like, we should go get a drink or whatever. Sometimes they never get back to me. They do the, oh, man, I just saw your text. You're out of town now, aren't you? Man, that sucks. I can't believe I didn't see it. Once, fine, but it happened a few times. So I was like, okay, they just really don't want to hang out with me. And then I would start seeing pictures on like Facebook and stuff that, the tall one and the pretty one are hanging out. And I was like, okay, I'm also in town. Like, you guys said you were busy. And I'm like, oh yeah, we're a little bit out of town. I was like, oh my God, whatever. You try and give people a chance, and sometimes they'll always fail you. The biggest thing about this, that all I can say of like how to try and get over a best friend, is literally time. I mean, again, I know some of these are dumb, of going to other mutual friends, talking to other friends, and like everything. But at the same time, it's also kind of related. And I understand what some of these ones off of Google are trying to do. The relationship, basically methods of like how to get over your ex. It is sort of the same as the best friend. The only thing I do agree with on some of these that I read was, don't pressure yourself to get or find a new best friend, because you're going to force it, and then they're going to feel that, and they're going to be like, like, you're needy. I'm going to walk away from this. And I know it's hard. And I know, to the fan that suggested this topic, again, thank you for it. It's going to take time. And I know with some people it's harder, because with some, like, you work together, or you live in the same complex, or you will always cross paths, because like the group of friends, like, you're always there and there's always tension or something. My only suggestion is try to move on. You can do the same things that you do. And again, their memory is always going to be there. Like, how come I can't just do this with that friend again? It's because they don't want to be friends. And if they do, they would reach out. But I mean, again, I know it's dumb, but there is a ton of other, things to do. You can always do new projects. You can always keep yourself busy. The other big thing too, and I actually joined it when I moved out here to the East Coast on Meetup. I actually found people who do the same things I do and I like to do. And those are the friends that I have. I have friends that I go with to the movies. Only I have friends who are cosplayers, and we watch My Hero Academia on Sundays because we're dorks. Like, we met up and we played a card game together. Like, could I see these people eventually like being very good friends? Absolutely. Could any of them be a best friend? I don't know. I really don't know. I will say though that when I got out here too, I actually met some awesome dudes who wanted to make a short film, a short like action film. So we shot it, and we're all buds. And honestly, I haven't had friends like this who, in a sense, push me, who want to do things together, who want to be better, who want to do all this stuff that I want to do. And they're also into the same stuff I'm into, like video games and animes and stuff. So I can talk to them about this stuff and they'll get it. And I've never had that. I've never had awesome dudes, cool friends who are into the same shit I am, like almost completely. And again, you can always find friends. It is hard because, you have to do the whole like, oh, let me slowly introduce myself. But if you find those groups on Meetup or, whatever else is out there, I don't personally know. You don't really have to be your, a hidden version of yourself. You can actually be yourself in that group of that topic, because then you can start getting into what else you're into. And people will accept you. If you're being fucking weird, like, you're going to hopefully pick up on it with the social cues. But honestly, things take time. Friends take time to, understand of like which ones are going to actually be in your life for a bit longer than, every Saturday, let's say, when you do a meetup. So I know this isn't like a full great advice or anything. And honestly, again, I'm not going to lie, telling that story of like the high school friends and everything, I actually did tear up. I actually choked up a bit. Because it's hard. It's hard to relive something I haven't really talked about. I've talked about exes with so many friends, but I've never talked about losing the best friend part. So hopefully this helps to the fan who wrote this in for this topic, to anybody who's listening who has lost a friend, who has lost a best friend, in the sense of that you two got mad at each other, fought or whatever, and you broke up that friendship. Because I know it's hard. I know it's hard when you lose a best friend. I know what it's like to be, in a sense, isolated when you only had that group of friends and then everybody goes towards only them and not you, and you're left out. And honestly, it is like a breakup a bit. You just got to turn the other way, and you just got to try to find something that makes you happy. And honestly, you'll end up finding people who find that same passion, whether it's, a movie, a show, or anything you're into. And you'll find a friend. Everyone can find a friend. You know how many people are in this world? Like, if there's that stupid saying, there's plenty of fish in the sea for dating, like, again, there's plenty of, fish in the sea for your friends, because let's just all admit it, like, we're all kind of dumb in our own way. And we can find someone who also is the exact same way dumb to enjoy all these things, whether it's going to concerts or movies or going to conventions and, just being a dork over it. So just understand you're never alone. You can always reach out to people. You can always reach out to people who you never even thought could be your friends. You just be like, we talk at times in, when we all hang out with like a group of 20, maybe that person thinks you're fucking cool. And they're just like, yeah, it'd be awesome if we hung out. And the next thing you know, you got your new best friend. So I'm saying right now is don't be closed off. Don't do what I did. Don't wait 4 years. Don't be scared to, in a sense, be vulnerable again. And I know it's in almost sense being hypocritical because, it took me so long to be able to just, talk to people and everything. But don't wait, because the loneliness is just going to grow and grow, and then you're going to have like no desire to do anything. So just get out there, join some groups, go to any kind of convention of things that you like. For me, it's anime conventions, and honestly, I can find cosplayer friends everywhere. Whether or not that they are going to be not cringy is a bit harder to deal with, but I mean, that's, it's going to be everybody. Some people are going to be cringe, some aren't. So hopefully this solo chat with just me kind of helped out with anybody who was listening over this. Episodes are released every Wednesday, everyone. I am going to end it right there. And thank you for listening. Hopefully this helped. And don't worry, we're going to touch base on this topic again, because this was actually a good one. And there's plenty of things I didn't get into through my life that is pretty depressing when it comes to friends. So thank you everyone again for listening. I hope you have a great rest of your day, your night, weekend, week, whatever time you're listening to this. Bye. Thank you for listening to X Marks the Spot podcast. Episodes are released every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, 8 a.m. Pacific Time. Be sure to follow us on all social media platforms. Just simply look for X Marks the Spot podcast. If you have a story you'd like to share and be on the show, please feel free to reach out at xmarksthespotpodcast@gmail.com or DM us on any of our social media. Thank you again for listening.